Yes, everyone, how we doing, and welcome to a new video on the Biased Man City Fan YouTube channel. In this video, we'll be discussing everything on Man City's 25-26 summer transfer window, all the incomings, all the outgoings, all the problems we might still have with the team that we didn't address in summer. There's a lot to talk about, a lot of moves made, so yeah, let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, then make sure you subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on everything I say in the comments. And yeah, let's crack on. Now look, first of all, I just want to say that I am actually quite happy with this transfer window. It has received a fair bit of criticism. Hugo Viana, for some reason, after I thought obviously his first transfer window, I thought he's done quite a good job. For me, I would give it a good 7.5 out of 10. I think 7's a little bit too harsh. 8 might be a little bit too generous. I give it 7.5 out of 10. I'm happy with it. I really am, but when the window finished and I made a video on TikTok talking about all the deadline day stuff that had happened, my comments were flooded of just sort of stick for Viana, stick for the transfer window, how are you this positive? Like, complaints, a lot of complaints from City fans, and I was a little bit surprised by it because for the majority, I think it's been good. You know, we've brought in some very good new players. We've let go of a few players that it might be the right time to let go. We've brought back, you know, we've brought in a fair bit of money. I've been quite impressed with Hugo Viana's first transfer window. Just saying, I'm happy with it. You know, I am. Right, look, we'll get into the incomings first because that is normally the most exciting part. And if you see me looking away, look to my right-hand side, it is because I've got a full notes page of all the signings, the prices and everything that I want to discuss on it. So I might be turning my head quite a lot, but just bear with me, okay? So the first signing, right, we'll get into it. I mean, I'm looking forward to talking now. And by the way, when I get into these, it's not in any order, not in order of like when the signings were made. It is just in a random list, okay? So the first signing, of course, Tajani Reinders from AC Milan, 46.3 million. Ryan Aït-Nouri signed from Wolves, 31 million pounds. Ryan Cherki, another Ryan, signed from Lyon, 35 million pounds. We signed James Trafford, brought him back to the club for 27 million pounds from Burnley. We've just brought in Donnarumma from PSG. We'll get a little bit more into that soon because I've not obviously spoke about that. The last video I made on here, Donnarumma was still a PSG player, so exciting times we're talking that. But Donnarumma was cheaper than James Trafford. Of course, the wages will be astronomically different, but Donnarumma, 26 million pounds. We signed Sverre Nypan, a Norwegian midfielder who we have then since loaned out to Middlesbrough. We signed him for £12.5 million. Of course, you'd imagine he'll be one for the future. And then, of course, Marcus Bettinelli, who replaced the legend, the GOAT, Scott Carson, for an undisclosed fee. Don't know how much, but I would be stunned if it was anything significant. So they're all our incomings. And now I'll list all the outgoings. Once I've done that, though, I will, of course, discuss the incomings in more detail and then the outgoings in more detail. But I just feel like it makes more sense to say all the transfers that have happened right in one go, do you know what I'm saying? So now for the list of players that have left the club this summer, we've got the legend that is Ederson, of course, just gone to Fenerbahce for £12 million. Ilkay Gundogan left also on deadline day for a free transfer, which it makes sense to be fair. We brought him back a year ago for a free transfer. Manuel Akanji has joined Inter Milan on a season-long loan. That deal is a little bit more lated. It's a €2 million loan fee that City will get just for him being on loan. And there's an obligation to buy in this one. However, the conditions are a little bit stricter. He needs to play 50% of Inter's games this season, which I think, as long as he stays fit, would be doable. I think he starts for Inter. And they need to win the Italian league, which, of course, I don't know that much about. I'd imagine that'll be difficult while Kevin De Bruyne's in that league, I will say. But, yeah, it's a good move for Akanji anyway. He's playing in Serie A, playing in Milan. Fair play to him. I think it's a good signing for both, I think. James McAtee has been sold this summer to Nottingham Forest for £30 million. There's a buyback clause in that, although we don't know how much that is yet. I think there's a buyback and a sell-on clause, actually, so typical City sale, that, isn't it? Maximo Perrone has left the club this summer to go and join Cesc Fabregas' Como side for £11 million. Kyle Walker, of course, left for Burnley, £5 million we got for that transfer. And then there's a few loan deals. Claudio Echeverri has gone to Bayer Leverkusen, and Vita Reis has gone to Girona on a season-long loan. Both of them, no buy option, nothing like that. And there is some clauses in them deals which I think City are quite clever in adding them in. I'm not too sure if we've done it in prior loan deals. I've never heard of it from Manchester City. But with Claudio Echeverri, we can recall him back, but only in the January transfer window. However, when it comes to Vita Reis' loan deal, I think it's a reason why we actually let Manuel Akanji go, because you look at the centre-halves and think, we could probably have done with him. There's a clause in Vita Reis' Girona contracts that means whenever, any point in the season, no matter what, if City just activate that clause to bring him back to the club, he will come back. So if we're in dire need of a centre-back at any point in the season, we're safe. Vita Reis can come back. But yeah, that is all of them, of course. I mean, you can add Kevin De Bruyne to it. Joining Napoli, of course, that was very early on a free transfer. And Scott Carson, don't know what he's up to. Is he even joined a club? I don't think Scott Carson's at a club anymore, is he? So, anyway, whatever he's doing, I hope he's enjoying himself. That is all the incomings and the outgoings. Let's get into discussing some of our signings in more detail. The first one I want to talk about is Tijjani Reinders, because to be fair, I think it's my favourite one. It's the most exciting one in my opinion. From what we've seen already anyway, he has been arguably City's stand-up player in these opening 3 games. Not that 2 of them have been any good, but what a player. What a player. £46.3 million from AC Milan. Of course, with that deal, there's a lot. It's a very structured deal, but a lot of them are future clauses for long term. We're talking about Premier League add-ons, talking about Champions League winning add-ons, Ballon d'Or winning add-ons. So we might end up paying AC Milan, along the years, a good extra 5-10 million. I don't know how much. It depends on how successful Tijjani Reinders' time is at City. But what a player we've got in our hands here. For the value, for the money, the quality midfielder, I think he's going to be massive for us. I think he's given us everything that we were missing last season. The size, the legs, the fitness. I've seen his injury record. He doesn't get injured. I hope I've not jinxed that now, because Ryan Cherki and Ait Nouri weren't supposed to be getting injured, and both of them have picked up issues within the first few weeks. But Tijjani Reinders, I am so excited to see more of him play this season. I think that was a brilliant buy from City. I think Ryan Cherki, of course, is a bit of a downer now. We've found out that he is injured for the next 2 months of football. So, of course, Derby Day coming up. We heard the talk when he just joined about how he wants to kill Manchester United. They were his words. He's going to have to wait till Old Trafford to be doing that. But 2 months out injured after never picking up an injury at Lyon is just typical. It's typical, but I think he's going to be a brilliant signing. Of course, very young still, very aggressive, arrogance, but a good kind of arrogance. He's already scored a goal. He came off the bench in the Wolves game and got himself a goal. I think, based off the Club World Cup, based on what we've seen him in the league, I think he'll be a very successful signing. I think it's a great winger addition. Ryan Ait Nouri is one that I am very happy we signed. We finally signed a left-back. I made videos on these. I don't want to go overboard in discussing these, because I've made videos when they were just announced, but Ryan Ait Nouri, City needed a left-back. We hadn't signed a left-back in years and years and years, and we finally got one. Of course, picked up a little bit of a knock in the Tottenham game. Started the Brighton game. He's pulled out or withdrawn from international side, but I think that's just to have a bit of a rest, recover properly 100%, so he's 100% ready for the United game for the season to start again. But I think he's been a good addition. I think he's fitted in pretty well. I don't think he was brilliant in the Brighton game, but the 2 games before that I thought he was good enough. He did the job, especially in that Wolves game. So yeah, of course, with time and with experience playing alongside these players, of course, we've got to remember that I know these games haven't been great for City so far, and I'm not going to speak much on City's opening start to the season, because this is more on the signings rather than it is the team or the results anyway, or the performances or anything like that. But we've got to remember that a lot of these players are new. They're coming into a new team, and the players that were already here are also adjusting to them. So I think within time, within minutes in the belt, and within more training sessions with Pep Guardiola, I'm sure all of these players will only improve. But to be fair, them 3 straight away have shown that. I think it's not too early to say they've all been good buys, and to be fair, they've been pretty cheap compared to a lot of it. It was over £3 billion spent in the Premier League this transfer window, and Liverpool spent astronomically big. Arsenal went mad. There's been quite a lot of money spent from a lot of clubs, and City, I feel like our signings haven't cost a lot of money at all. So I'd say all 3 of them, value for money. Sven Ipan and Bettinelli, there isn't too much to talk about. Is the Ipan I know next to nothing about. We'll see how he gets on in Middlesbrough this season. And Bettinelli's been injured since he's got here, so yeah, I'm sure he'd be good for the changing room. We didn't buy him to have him starting, did we anyway? Especially not with the other keepers we've already bought and had at the club. So yeah, I'm sure we'll see next to nothing of Bettinelli anyway. But he's a Scott Carson replacement. We didn't see a lot of football from Scott Carson, did we? It's an interesting one. But on to the 2 other transfers, the 2 incomings, James Trafford and Gianluigi Donnarumma. Now, I'll start off talking about Trafford because, of course, we signed him first. And when we first signed him, there was an expectation that Ederson would be staying. And what it seemed to be was Ederson was going to be our number 1 for this season, of course, with his contract running out at the end of this season. And James Trafford, of course, would get a bit of football. He's, of course, been playing the opening games of the season. But we'd ease him in. We'd, let him go in slowly and get the experience so that hopefully next season is bang when he's ready. And Of course, Ederson has since left, and we've brought in Donnarumma, who is signed on a 5-year contract and is arguably the best goalkeeper in world football. So, you know, I'd have a penny for James Trafford's thoughts. I wonder what is going on in his mind because, of course, professional football, especially at a club the size of Manchester City, they're going to back themselves. They're going to believe in themselves, of course. They wouldn't be in the positions they are now without some level of arrogance or self-belief. So I wouldn't put it past James Trafford to be looking at Donnarumma coming in and thinking, right, okay, I've got a fresh challenge, I've got a big challenge, I'm going to do it, I'm going to prove people wrong. So, and I hope he does. I hope he does because Donnarumma, as I said, might be the world's best goalkeeper. And if James Trafford starts performing better than Donnarumma, then James Trafford's be performing the best like the best goalkeeper in the world, isn't he? So it's a big ask and it's an unlikely ask, to be honest, but sorry, I mean, I did something like this in my other video as well. I'm sorry if the lighting's a bit off. There isn't all that much I can do. I need to try and get some sort of setup upstairs. Anyway, on to James Trafford. Sorry about that. Got distracted. I'm just looking at lighting and all that, but we're into it now anyway. Yeah, I wonder what is going on in his mind because we're not going to bring in Donnarumma for the sake, you know, I mean, the price we paid for him, the wages, I don't know them, but they're going to be high. They're going to be very high. A lot higher than James Trafford's or Ederson's were, so we're not going to bring a goalkeeper with the quality of Donnarumma and put him in on the bench. So it looks like the number 2 role for James Trafford might be for the foreseeable. So and I can't imagine the quality of goalkeeper there, the potential of the goalkeeper there, the age and everything. It just makes me think I can't see him sticking about for a long, long while. But of course he'll be here this season, and so far I have been quite impressed with him. Of course, had a little bit of a blunder in the Tottenham game, but his 2 other games, I thought Brighton, even though we were on the losing side, he was arguably City's best player, kept us in it, he's the reason it only was 2-1 and not 3 or 4-1. And the Wolves game, he was solid, kept a clean sheet, came out and won some headers, some good passes and that. So I've not been let down by Trafford in any way. I do like the signing of James Trafford, but Donnarumma is beyond exciting. We had to get Donnarumma. We had to. I'm sorry. I know people might be looking at it and thinking it's an unusual signing for City. Some people might think it doesn't exactly fit Pep's brand of goalkeeping, but I don't care. He is the best goalkeeper in world football, in my opinion, the best shot stopper in world football for a fact. And we've got him to Manchester City. That being available would have been daft, would have been stupid to pass up on that opportunity. He wanted Manchester City from the second we communicated with him. For periods, it looked like it weren't going to happen because this Ederson and Galatasaray saga was dragging on for so long, to the extent that Fenerbahce have come in and hijacked it, you know. But we've brought him in now, and I'm so excited to see it. I really am. I don't know if it's... I know goalkeeper signings aren't normally as exciting as your outfielder ones, because or your wingers, your strikers and stuff like that. But I'm a goalkeeper. I'm itching to see him play. I can't wait for it. I mean, I might even watching, you know, Italy's national team now. You know what I'm saying? I'm well looking forward to it. So I like the signing of Donnarumma. I really do. I feel like though, if that would have been, if Luis Enrique would have kicked out Donnarumma basically a month prior, before, you know, obviously before we signed James Trafford, I don't think we'd have got Trafford. That's the only thing. Would we have signed a number 2? I don't know, because Stefan Ortega's stayed. Or I mean, there's still time because I think the Turkish transfer window's open for another couple of days anyway. So I'm saying this now, he might end up still leaving. I'd be still a little bit surprised if he doesn't leave, maybe even on like a loan or something. But you look at the quality of Stefan Ortega, he's not going to sit and be third choice. He's way too good to be third choice. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with him, but I feel like, as I said, if Donnarumma would have been available, because there was rumours, but we ended up getting Trafford. If Enrique would have done that with Donnarumma earlier, I don't think City signed James Trafford. I'm just going to say how it is. I don't think we do. Now, look, onto the outgoings that I want to discuss. There's a fair few, so look, let's get into them. First of all, we'll talk about Academy boy, James McAtee. I think it's a good move for McAtee. From the start of the window, before it started, I had a feeling, an expectation that McAtee would be leaving the club this summer after his Euros performance with England's under-21s, captaining them to another European Championship. I had even more of a feeling that he'd be leaving the club. He's joined Nottingham Forest, which I think is a brilliant move for him. I think that's about probably where the level he is at right now. Is he good enough to be at Manchester City? Possibly as a squad player, but You look at the winger options we've got, or the midfield options we've got, especially with the addition of Ryan Cherki and Tijani Reinders. I just don't see him getting minutes unless we are struggling with injuries. So I think it's the right move for him. I think the fact we've got £30 million from an academy product is, of course, very good. When you take into consideration there's a buyback clause there as well. I don't know how much it is, but the fact there is one, if McAtee ends up performing to a ridiculous level, then we know we've got the security there to think, okay, let's bring him back in. He's had his experience played. Because bear in mind, they've got European football. He'll be playing in the Europa League. It's not like he's being loaned out to a lower division or a lower quality foreign league or something like that. So, yeah, I think it's a good move for him and Manchester City. I think Ederson, it is a good move. Look, I made a very long video over on my TikTok about speaking about Ederson and the way I feel about him. So if you want to see that, bear in mind when I say like long video, I'm talking possibly nearly 10 minutes. So I'm not going to spend 10 minutes on it here talking to this as well, because you can check that out if you want to hear 10 minutes worth of me talking about Ederson. But I do want to just quickly say the guy is a legend. He's a club legend. 8 seasons at the club. He's redefined the goalkeeping position. He's just changed the game. We've never had anyone like him. He's unique, quality, brave, just crazy, but just unbelievable. One of the best goalkeepers I've ever set my eyes on. And I think a lot of this success that City have had over the past decade, the 8 seasons that he's been here, it wouldn't have been possible without him. You know, we signed in Benfica, this young Brazilian unknown lad, off the back of us bringing in Claudio Bravo, who, with all due respect to him, was an absolute disaster. He's worth his weight in gold. 30 million, you know, we think he's, brilliant. So, yeah, I'm sad to see him go, I really am, but it is possibly the right time. There was a decline in his performance over last season. There was only a year to go left on his contract, so the fact we've got £12 million out of it, I think's pretty fair. I think so anyway. And it seemed like he's wanted to move for a couple of years now, hasn't he? There was a lot of talk at the start of last season about Saudi Arabian move and stuff like that. It never ended up happening. I feel like you get the feeling, the rumours are that he's wanted to move for a while, so I hope he smashes it in Turkey. But I think it is possibly the right time. And you look at the players we've brought in to replace him, whether it's Trafford or Donnarumma, both of them are great signings as replacements, you know. Of course, Kyle Walker going to Burnley was an interesting one. I mean, we knew he'd be leaving anyway, of course, left in January on loan to Milan. Didn't exactly work out over there, but I think for Burnley, I mean, I've watched one game of him so far, and it was against United, and I thought it was all right. Yeah, I think it's fair play to him, you know what I mean? Fair play to, he's still clearly giving it a go. 2-year contract at Burnley, wants to still be competing at the Premier League. So I wish Kyle Walker nothing but greatness, you know. He's, again, a great servant to the club, of course. Some questionable words since he's left, but it's all water under the bridge, and I'm fine with Walker. You can't not love him for after what he's done for this club. Manuel Akanji, of course, going to Inter Milan. As I said when I was discussing it before, I think it's a great move for both. Inter Milan have got a top centre-half on their hands there, and Akanji gets to go and live in Milan for a year or so. And yeah, I feel like if Inter have a good season, I mean, I don't doubt the appearances, because I think he's good enough for their starting 11, so I don't doubt the appearances, the 50% thing. But if Inter win the league, then it'll be an obligation. And yeah, I think it's... I liked Akanji. I don't know if it was the right move or not, but I liked him, but it does make sense as well, because as much as I like him, I've just said that about 3 times. What am I doing? I like him, but I still think he's good enough for City 100%. I think he's a versatile, strong defender, and we could do with someone like him at the club, but we've got other versatile defenders, and out of all of our centre-halves, he is probably last off the picking order. I'd still rather Ake, Kusanov, Gvardiol, Diaz and Stones all starting ahead of him, so the move, I think, is probably best for him. Ilkay going on likewise as well. You know, Ilkay, club legend, treble-winning captain, brought him back a season ago, and it just didn't really go the way we'd have hoped, did it? You know, it wasn't. It was a romantic signing. It was a beautiful signing, but it was supposed to be a lot more beautiful than it ended up. You know, I think we relied on him way too much than we wanted to last season with injuries and stuff like that. So, wasn't the fairy tale that we wanted it to be, but that won't be what he's remembered by. He'll be remembered as our treble-winning captain, and that is all that matters. A free transfer to Galatasaray. You know, he posted a picture of him as a little kid in a Galatasaray hat, so clearly a fan of the club, appreciated the club since young. So, and look, this is what I like about when you see your players who you love and you want them to go and have a great rest of the career, rest of the time. you know they're in safe hands when they're in Turkey, because you know the Turks are mad about their football, especially at the big clubs. They're crazy about them. They go mad for them. İlkay Gundogan, I mean, it was being live streamed, him walking off the plane on Galatasaray's YouTube channel, and there was over 110,000 people watching. That's the extent of crazy they are about their football. So he'll get the love and appreciation he deserves over in Turkey. So I'm happy for him. Free transfer, like I said, it makes sense with City bringing him back on a free transfer. He left on a free transfer, came back on a free transfer, and he's now gone again on a free transfer. But yeah, Mr. Whipper, what a guy, club legend. But again, with the competition in his position, Tijjani Reina's joining the club as well. Nico hopefully getting a lot more football this season. Nico O'Reilly, of course, probably getting more football in midfield in his position this season with a signing a left back. I think the deal makes sense. And then the final one that I want to talk about, I don't even know if I actually mentioned that when I was listening to all the outgoings, Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish has left the club on loan with an option to buy £50 million to Everton. Now, Jack Grealish is one of my favourite City players ever. As far as personality, as far as that treble winning season, the character, the bond with the fans, he just gets it. He just got it. You know, and I don't think he doubts for 1 second the way City fans, match-going City fans, loud, proud, loyal City fans feel about him. We adore him. We absolutely adore him. Whether it was the passion that we seen on the field, or the celebrations after the treble, or just singing with the fans, he just got it. He just felt like having one of us, and he weren't one of us because he's a Brummie, isn't he? It's not like Foden or Rico Lewis or something. He's not growing up dreaming of playing for Manchester City, but he took to us straight away, and we took to him, and it was perfect. I think the move was the right thing to do for his career, especially. You know, look at his start to Everton, how incredible he's been under David Moyes. Seems to be the main man there. He's the top assister in the league right now. He's 2 Premier League starts for Everton, 4 assists. The guy is wicked. He's on wicked form, and I'd be surprised with the way that he's playing if Everton weren't to do that £50 million signing. You know, he's just incredible, and I wish him nothing but the best over in Everton. I hope he smashes it. You know, I hope he makes Pep Guardiola look back and think, I should have used him a little bit different. I should have played him a little bit more, because he's immense. He's absolutely immense. And yeah, he seems happy again. He seems like he's enjoying his football again, and that is all I want to see from Jack. He's just a lovable guy, a great person, a great footballer, and yeah, it's sad that him not being in the City shirt, but it's by far the best thing that he has done for his career. He needed that revamp. He needed that consistency in his football, you know, him actually being played and trusted. So he'll get that at Everton. He's getting the love he deserves. By the Toffees, up the Toffees, up the Jack Grealish. Look, they are, of course, all the transfers that City have made. And as I said at the start, I feel like it's been quite an overreaction. It's been quite a bad reaction to City's transfer window. I think Vianney's done quite a good job. This transfer window, his first transfer window, I like the signings. But people have been going mad. You know, I know people on social media will never be happy about anything, are they? They can't let themselves. But a lot of complaints, a lot of worries. I feel like a reason for, I think, the overreaction I've labelled it to be is just because of how poor of a start to the season Manchester City have actually had. If City would have beaten Spurs or Brighton, and let's say even won 2 of the 3 of our games, I feel like there's a little bit of a calmer reaction to the end of this transfer window, because we've made some good signings. There's a few players that, you know, we've took off the wage bill. There's, you know, Gundogan, who people were complaining about last season, has left the club. Ederson, who some people were complaining about, has left the club. We've replaced them in their position. We've upgraded on them in their positions. Younger players as well in their positions. There's a lot of complaints, and the only reason that I can understand complaining, and the only thing that I would say would have took this from a 7.5 out of 10 to genuinely a 10 out of 10 window, is that right back issue, that right back thing. Now, you might be thinking a 2.5 jump for a right back seems heavy, it seems extreme, but it's just because I feel like coming into the window, the right back position was one of City's, if not City's, biggest issue that needed addressing, and it hasn't been addressed, not with a signing anyway. I don't doubt for 1 second that City were in for right backs at some point this window. We know there was links that went on for ages with Tino Livramento from Newcastle, but the price they were asking for was just astronomical. And I know people are saying, get it done. We need a right back, we need one, but 80 million for Tino Livramento. 100% understand why the football club did not go with it. I understand why they didn't. It's just ridiculous price for a player. He's a good player. He's a young player, but 80 million for Livramento. What world are we living in? What's the football world turn to? And of course, there was other right backs on the market that City seemed to target from time to time. Cambiasso was linked with us heavy as well in January. The January before it. Jed Spence, Koundé. There was a fella from Brazil, but I feel like, again, we didn't know that much about him. It had been a bit of a risk. You wanted a proven right back. You wanted someone that they throw in and they think, okay, that is a straight up upgrade. And from the 4 I've mentioned, all 4 have signed new contracts. That isn't a coincidence. That is not a coincidence. There is a very slim market out there for right backs in football right now, and as much as it is an issue for Manchester City, and I 100% agree with that, people getting on Viana, getting on the club and stuff like that, I think just needs to have a think about why we haven't gone and got one, why we didn't. £80 million for Tino Livramento. Even on deadline day, people are going, go and get Livramento, go and get Livramento. Do you think Newcastle are going to sell Livramento ever for a reasonable price? But on deadline day, I think there was a chance that City went in on deadline day for Livramento and put down, let's say, 70 million. And I still don't think they'd have accepted it because it was too late and it was too... I don't know. I know people... I understand. And of course, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Just because I agree... I disagree with your opinion doesn't mean that you're wrong. Do you know what I mean? You feel like I'm wrong, and that's fine. That's football. That's opinions. Everyone's allowed an opinion. But I feel like there has been quite an overreaction to it. And the right-back issue is still a problem. And look, at some point in a season, I might turn around and go, look, we really dropped a bollock not getting one. But I just feel like this window, it isn't defined by the fact we haven't signed a right back. I think it has been very, very much more good than it has bad for Manchester City this summer. There's people going mad about how as I said, we've not addressed the right back issue, but people are saying, like, Donnarumma's a good signing, but he doesn't solve everything. Reinders is a good signing, but he doesn't solve everything. I kept seeing comments, we haven't addressed our problems. No, we have. We have addressed our problems. We have. I think there were 3 big issues for City this coming into the season, coming into this transfer window, that I would have probably said. One of them, of course, right back, like I've just spoke about. Second one, left back. We haven't signed a left back in years and years and years. And when we put Gvardiol back into centre half at the back end of last season, we were like, wow, look at how good he's at centre half. It's only like we signed him as a centre half for £80 million. City needed a left back so we could get the best out of Josko Gvardiol, which of course we haven't seen yet, but that's just because he's injured. And of course with Nico O'Reilly, like I said, we get to play him in their position. City needed a left back. We went and did that. I think arguably City's biggest issue though was legs in midfield. We had a midfield full of old, knackered players who had played way too much football last season, and we've revamped it. We've brought in Reinders, who is one of the most exciting players in Europe, one of the best midfielders in Europe right now, still young, fresh, energetic, just brilliant, all round brilliant. And of course, as I said, bringing in that left back then of course allows us to put in Nico O'Reilly back in midfield. We've seen Nico Gonzalez play more football. City have addressed some of their issues. The only one that I feel like we haven't is right back. And as I said, I wish we'd have signed a right back. If Newcastle were more reasonable with all this Livramento stuff, then maybe. But long story short, I think I somewhat stand by the club in not paying that much money for Tino Livramento. He's a good player, good future, but 80 million is just ridiculous. And look, as I've mentioned in prior videos, in prior previews or match reactions or whatever after certain games, us having no right back, it is an issue, but at the same time, it's an opportunity. That's the way I see it. For particularly Rico Lewis, because I trust Rico Lewis. I like Rico Lewis. I really do. And I know it's an unpopular opinion amongst a lot of City fans, but I think he'll come good. And I see this season as an opportunity for Rico Lewis. I really do. The Tottenham game, he wasn't great. The Wolves game, however, he was excellent. Matheus Nunes started the Brighton game, and he did not have a good game. I look at this Manchester derby, and I think, I'd rather Kusanov play against them, but if not, then Rico Lewis is there. This is an opportunity. We can always go into it in January, and if something comes available, then we go and get one. But we have options. We have Kusanov, we have Lewis. It's not as if we don't have anybody. I know it might be not as strong as other people want, but the way I see things are, especially with Rico Lewis getting a new contract as well, that is, inevitable. It's coming up. Here's a great opportunity for him to take that right back position and make it his own. And I believe in him to do it. I really do. And I know a lot of people don't. There's a lot of people that are getting on his back even after a couple games of the season. But he's one of our own. He's young. He's still got a lot of time. Especially under Pep Guardiola. Kyle Walker wasn't the finished product when he joined. You know, Pep improves players, especially improves young players. And we know, and we have heard it time and time again, that Pep Guardiola loves Rico Lewis. So I back Pep to get the best out of Rico. It's an opportunity for Rico City having no right back. So I get concerns. I get that it hasn't been addressed as much as we'd have wanted it to. But it's an opportunity for Rico Lewis. And yeah, that's the way I see things. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you disagree? Is it as bad as people are making out? And looking at the timer above my phone, this has been my longest video on the YouTube channel. So look, if you're still watching, then thank you very much. I appreciate your support. This has been a lot to get into. I think the final thing I want to discuss is the concern I do have with this window is, as much as I'm happy with Manchester City's window, I'm happy with the players, I'm happy with the signings, I'm happy with some of the exits. I look at it and I compare it to other Premier League sides who last season were better than Manchester City and stronger than Manchester City. You look at them and think, they've had a better window than us. They've improved more than we have. And last season they were better. So as much as City have had a good window, I feel like there's still too much of a gap for City to go on and win the league this season. I know it's early assessing it after 3 games, but that's just the way I feel. You look at some of the players we were linked with. If City did go and get Livramento and a Rodrigo from Real Madrid, I think that could have been good enough to push. I'm saying could have. I'm not saying would have, but that could have been enough for City to go on and win the league this season. But we haven't got either of them. And you look at Liverpool in particular. Sorry, this lighting thing is doing my Sweden. You look at Liverpool in particular, and you think they were incredible last season. They won the league so comfortably last season, miles away from Man City last season. And on top of the already quality that they've got, I know they've lost Trent, but out of the 3 that they were looking like they could have lost, Trent was the one that they wanted to lose the most. You know what I'm saying? They've signed Ekatike up top. Outstanding start to the season. Outstanding striker. You can see it already. Frimpong to replace Trent. A good player. Kirkes to replace Robertson because he's getting on. Good player. And then the big one. Florian Wirtz. I forgot about Florian Wirtz as well. Florian Wirtz. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, of course he hasn't had a great start to the season, but he was my dream signing coming into this window. He will come good. I have seen enough football of him at Leverkusen to know they have got a player on their hands there. And all of that to then, on deadline day, getting the man who's been going on strike. I tell you, like the railway. Going on strike to force his move. He called out the club. He refused to play for the club in a game against Liverpool. He has cost Newcastle points already this season where they've looked toothless up front because he's not been there. And they've got the move for Alexander Isak. He's not the best because Haaland's the best, but one of the best forwards in Europe. And you just look at it and go, they were better than us last season and they've strengthened on top of it. And even Arsenal, you can make a case for Arsenal. Of course, they were probably better than us last season. I think it'd be fair to say. And they've strengthened their defence, which was already brilliant. They've got a striker, as long as he comes good for them. Of course, it is a little bit of a risk, but they've got a striker now, which was their big issue for all these years. They've brought Eberechi Eze as well, who is an incredible player. And he's done it against us enough times as well. I love Eze. I'm gutted he's gone to Arsenal because I don't get to enjoy him anymore, you know what I mean? They've signed these players and you just look at them and go, ooh. They both of them two, I think, come into the season looking stronger than Manchester City. Now, the one thing that we've got, and a lot of people who have just joined the Manchester City fan base after the treble and jumped on the bandwagon, you might want to click off now if you're watching, because what I'm going to say you're not going to like, all of you Pep-outers, alright? Pep-outers, Pep out, shut up. The one thing that we've got above Liverpool and Arsenal is we've got Pep Guardiola. And if anyone can tweak it, because he does need to tweak his approach to certain games because we're being caught out way too easily in Brighton game and Tottenham game. He does need to adjust something, but if there's anyone who can win us titles, anyone who can change things and coach players to different levels and trophy winning levels, it's Pep Guardiola. That is the ace up our sleeve, isn't it? That is the difference. City have Pep. Liverpool don't have Pep. I'm not saying Arne Slot isn't good. Arsenal have got Arteta. I'm not saying Arteta isn't good, but neither of them are Pep Guardiola. So you've always got to believe. You can't ever not believe when you've got Pep Guardiola as your coach. So I'm not writing off City for the title by any means, not writing City off by anything, but of course made it difficult for ourselves already this season with us having to chase Liverpool already and being behind Arsenal. And you look at that Arsenal game, 2 league games into the end, the afterwards of this international break in a couple of weeks' time. Arsenal away, we need a result there. We need a big result. We've got to start winning big games. But I mean, I'll talk more about that when it comes to it. But yeah, what I would say is that is my only concern, other than us not getting it right back. I look at it and go, yes, we've strengthened, and yes, I feel like we've had a good window, but other teams who are better than us last season also have, and they might have had a better window. So there is it's understandable people worrying, but what I would say is get behind the players, get behind the club, get behind Viana. Of course, this is his first window. People getting on him, wanting him sacked, and just stupid stuff you see online, isn't it? It's not realistic, is it? So I'm overall happy with our window. I wouldn't rule us out of anything this season. You can have doubts, but you've always still got to believe and get behind your team. That is one thing I'd say. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on the window in the comments. Is there anything else I've not mentioned that you think I forgot to talk about? Let me know your thoughts. Out of 10, what would you rate City's transfer window? And yeah, that's that for the transfer. When you look at it now, we are in the middle, we're not even the middle, with the start of an international break, aren't we? It's Wednesday morning, and we're a little bit away from City returning. Of course, there's been a fair bit of injuries, injuries anyway. A lot of players are pulled out from their international team, so we'll keep an eye on everyone who's away. Fingers crossed, everyone who's pulled out are just precautionary and they just don't want to play more football than they already are playing. Keeping themselves fit for City's games. We're a little bit away from City playing again. Of course, Derby Day is our first game back, which is going to be a massive, massive game. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with our window. People saying, how can you be this positive? Because I believe. And that belief might kill you, but if it does, it does. I'll come back when it kills you and I'll admit you're right. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, as I said, in the comments. Thank you for watching this long into the video if you are. Unbelievable. You know what I mean? You've spent 45 minutes with me nearly, so I appreciate that from you. And yeah, I don't know if there'll be any other videos out during the international break. If there's anything that comes to mind, or anything big happens, then I'll make a video on it. Let me know if any suggestions, then feel free to drop me a message or a comment or anything like that. But if I don't see you before, then I will see you for the Derby Day preview in a fair week's time. Enjoy your international break, people. Look after yourselves. Keep yourselves busy. And yeah, thanks for supporting the channel. If you're new to it, subscribe to it. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And yeah, come on, City.